Welcome back to the Spewak Training Podcast. Very excited to bring on Tim O and Coach Julia Griffey for the second episode ever of this podcast. This has been, something in the works for a little bit of time, and as you guys learned on the first episode, really our inspiration, about creating this new podcast is to share the amazing stories that we have at Spewak Training with our coaches, with our athletes, and the journeys that they are on. And I think what's so fun about this episode with Tim and Julia is that they've had a ton of success together, and they've been actually together during, the peak, I would say, of, one's maybe running career in terms of, qualifying for Boston and then actually being able to go to achieve that. And that's what happened for Tim. He had been searched for a good running coach and somebody that could, kind of help him take his running to the next level. And then he was able to accomplish that goal when he started working with Julia and saw lots of success. But what's even cooler is just the friendship and relationship that they've developed kind of out of this as well. And I think that's what makes this sport so fun, is that running is kind of, the one part, and then there's many, many, many other things that make us so happy about this sport kind of beyond just the roads. And that's the friendships and relationships that come out of it. And so kudos to Coach Julia for just fostering such a great environment with her coaching. I couldn't be more proud of her for just being, the type of person that just is extremely empathetic and caring and just really goes above and beyond for her clients. And I know every single person that works with Julia has nothing but great things to say. But as you guys know, a lot of you have been following Julia for years. She was a professional runner for Hoka, has had tons of success, was 10th at the U.S. Olympic trials. But you would really never know that because she is so humble and she puts her people first. And that's what's cool about being able to, interview her and for you guys to just kind of hear and actually see her enthusiasm live. And Tim just really, I would say, just is another great example of, just an amazing person that makes up the Spewak training community. He, brings a positive attitude every single week to his training, is really supportive of everybody in our community, has just become such a great person to root for and cheer on, and then also become a friend. So this is a great episode. It's going to be one that I think will inspire both, you from a standpoint from running and then also just the relationship side and what the power of this sport can do. So let's dive into the second episode of Spewak Training Podcast with Tim O and Coach Julia Griffey. Welcome back to the Spewak Training Podcast. This is really exciting because this is the second episode of the Spewak Training Podcast. And for those of you that have been following the journey so far, we had a great episode just last week with Nicole and Coach Staples. And something really fun about this new podcast format that we're doing with our amazing producer, Bill Smith, is that he's able to actually record us video-wise, and then we're able to put that online so that you guys at home can watch it or hear it, so when you're working out, you can prop it up on the elliptical and watch your favorite people, or you can just listen to the audio. So excited about that. But today we are with Coach Julia Griffey and one of our all-time favorite athletes, Mr. Tim O. How are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good.
Excited to be here.
Yeah.
On a side note, Tim is, I think, felt a little slighted over the years that he had never got an invite on my podcast. And so now that we have brought out a Spewak Training Podcast, I thought it was only fitting that Tim was, one of the first slots.
Still waiting to get on, waiting to get on the other podcast. But yeah, this will do for now.
And Julia has actually been on the Mission to Speed podcast a few times. She's done an interview in the past where we actually interviewed her and her former coach, Jason Holroyd. And then we did a little bit of an introduction to her coaching. So if you guys want to dig up some of those great interviews as well, we can get you in touch with that. But the exciting part about this for me is that, and it seems like it was just yesterday, Tim, that you reached out, and I was looking back, it was October of 2023. So it's been, close to 2.5 years since you started working with Julia and kind of coming into the Spewak training world. And it's funny because you have a very successful running background and you're super passionate about the sport, and somehow we didn't know you, and you lived like right down the street from us and everything. So it's crazy how now that our worlds are connected and we're seeing you everywhere.
Yeah. And we're boys.
He mentioned that as well. So yeah, 2.5 years. Obviously, Coach Julia and Tim have been working together. Tim, I know that you've, obviously you ran high school cross country and track. You have a background, obviously with the sport, and then as you got into your adult years, you continued to run and obviously had goals. But can you share a little bit more about like what you did before you worked with us?
Back in high school, or just like before meeting you, Julia, and the rest of the
I'd
team?
say post-collegiately, kind of what you were prior to when you reached out.
Yeah, so prior to reaching out, I originally got back into running, and towards the end of 2021, I did that 75 hard challenge, and a goal of mine was to just run the Forest Park half marathon to like conclude it. And I ended up doing that, just finding a plan online, and I ran a pretty decent time for like a first half marathon, but then everyone was talking about freaking 3 hours for the marathon. So decided to jump up to that and gave it a few tries without a coach. And I ran a 3:03 and then a 3-hour one for my first 2 goes. And then before connecting with you guys, I actually worked with the coach previously, and there was nothing wrong with it, but I don't know. From what I was looking in for a coach, didn't really align with what the other coach was thinking in terms of wanted them to be more hands-on and a lot more personal, which I wasn't getting at the time. So after I ran the Chicago Marathon in 2023, I also wanted to find a group around here because in terms of running, it's fine running solo sometimes, but it's also nice meeting people through this sport too. So I was doing some research on Google, and I found Spewak Racing and Training. And then I saw Julia was going to be a coach that month. So reached out to you, and seeing that she was ran the trials a few years before, I felt like she could help me reach my goals. And for the past few years, it seems like we're moving in the right direction. I've had a few hiccups this past year, but hoping to get healthy and then move forward from there.
Well, Julia, that had to be pretty flattering, when Tim, obviously reached out and wanted to work with you. And especially for your background, obviously he followed your professional running journey, but then to have the confidence to work with you as a coach, because as we both know, great running, success doesn't always translate to great coaching success. And I think that's what I have to brag on about Julia. And I've said this to Julia many times, but we didn't hire Julia because we wanted to have this really fast runner and to showcase that. We hired Julia as if Julia's only goal in running was to run walk, she would be just as great of a coach. Just because it's the personability and just the fact that she's just such a hard worker and she's so caring and she just really does the best job she can for her clients. So it's really exciting that obviously Tim knew her for the running perspective, but then been able to match that from the personality standpoint, which is cool. Julie, can you share a little bit more just about the journey of working with Tim and that like healthy running balance that you guys have together?
Yeah. I, first of all, was like just getting started into coaching and taking on a few clients, and you were like, hey, this guy has requested to work with you. And I was like, me? Why? I'm like a new coach. Walking into it pretty intimidated. I was like, I know how to run marathons, but I don't know how to coach them yet. Like I really wanted to learn from you, Mark. And then hearing that Tim had requested to work with me, like right off the bat, one of my first clients was like, okay. And then I started talking to him, and he's like, I just ran 250 in Chicago. I ran this for a half with no training. I was like, oh, wait, this person's actually like legit and has some really good goals. So I was pretty excited about it, but also, intimidated because my whole goal in coaching was just to help everybody reach their potential. And I'm like, oh, this guy's already hit some pretty good goals. So we got to work hard to hit these like next steps. So it was like a good first challenge for me as coming into coaching and trying to say like, how can I use my experience in hitting my marathon goals to help Tim keep getting better? And then not only did we like click from a coaching perspective, but just like a personality perspective. Like he wanted that personal touch, and that's something I believe strongly in from like the coaching. Like anybody can find a plan online. We all know that. It's easy to Google a marathon training plan. But like the whole point of coaching for Spewak was this personalization that you give to every single client. Like, oh, I was 100-mile-a-week marathoner week after week. I don't think that works for everybody. And you have to know the person and their history and what works for them and what their goals are and make an individual plan. And like Tim and I just clicked as like not only coach to athlete, but like friends. And I could be like, hey, I don't think this works for you. And he'd be like, okay, I get it. Or we can push back on each other, which I think is good in conversation and like reaching those goals. So yeah, the first, year and a half, Tim, I think PR'd in every event that he ran, and was like, I want to qualify for Boston, bang, qualify for Boston. Like, it was pretty awesome just to be part of that journey. I think I was just a guide. Tim's one of the hardest workers out there. So I write the plans and I help guide him based off of what I think his ability is. But Tim's going to do what you say when you say it and work his butt off doing it, which is like really cool to find in someone that you're coaching. It makes my job easier as well. So yeah. And then, of course, everybody that's ran more than a few years in their life knows that running is not all up. It is up and down. And so yeah, we've had some injuries along the way, but I think part of that we've learned is how can we add cross training? How can we add strength training? How can we do all of these different things that continue to improve the fitness, continue to hit the goals? And like Tim went into Boston pretty like hurt before it and still ran a sub 3 hour Boston, like jogging the course. Like not many people can say they did that, and like had the best experience there, got to just like soak it all in. So it's been really fun. And I think we have hopefully a long road ahead of more goals, because I think Tim has a lot of potential, and just figuring out, what's the perfect mix of mileage, strength training, cross training, which is always a blend every athlete needs to find.
Tim, I know Boston, obviously was a big goal for you, and, just kind of thinking about, with your, marathon success, obviously leading up to Julia, and then being able to take off that much time, and then, obviously see yourself running in the 240s, which is just incredible. Like, one is like, what did it mean to you to finally, kind of qualify for Boston? And second, like, what was it like to actually go do it?
Yeah. So before we were going to Julia, I qualified, but even if you hit that, you're not guaranteed a spot to get in. So I think it was like a minute and a half off of getting in that year. So instead of sulking and all that, I used it as fuel to like make sure I never felt that way again, was able to get in every time forward. So working with her and cutting up the time and running my first marathon in Mesa, Arizona, where Julia was living in around that area at the time. And for her to be there was really cool. But then finally, I think it was the fall of 2024, getting that acceptance email that you're in was really good feeling. Showed that like a year of grinding and hard work really pays off. And I don't know, sometimes things aren't meant to be. So it's usually just fuel for the fire, work your butt off, and it'll show as long as you keep like tipping away. Like with running, a lot of people see on social media in particular that they think it happens right away, when realistically it's not how it goes. You have to like just keep on chipping and chipping away and just look at it as like long-term over short-term success. And like ultimately having your why, like why are you doing it? Like not like worrying about other people's views on it. But yeah, finally being able to run it was incredible, even though I got hurt most of the training block.
And you had a lot of your family, your friends, obviously, that supported you in this journey, and then were able to actually be at the Boston Marathon. That must have been so cool. It was
awesome. My uncle actually lives out in Boston. So my wife, Meg, and I went out early to like go hang with them and check out the city. There's a lot going on at the time. And then my grandma was also in like a home out there. So that was like another reason why I really wanted to run it. Like if it was any other race, probably wouldn't have raced it, just in terms of like the stuff that popped up. But yeah, with the cost of it and everything, I was gonna toe that line regardless. But
it seemed great.
Yeah. The day itself was special. It was awesome. The weather was great, and you get it's like an hour bus ride out there, and you sit with people, get to meet people all over the country and world that come in for it, and just hearing everyone's stories on like what it took for them to get there, even if it's their first or 10th Boston Marathon. It's just cool being able to connect with people that have like a similar mindset to like get to that starting line in Hopkinton.
Julia, I know you've had obviously a lot of those big successful moments in your own sports career, whether that be from basketball, soccer, and then to obviously into your running career. And then you think about, you as an athlete have been to Boston, have had your experiences there. But what was it like, being able to then first kind of guide then Tim to the Boston Marathon and get to see him kind of live out that dream that you've experienced?
It was really fun because Tim was very appreciative of the experience. Like, even knowing like, hey, training didn't go 100% this marathon block like it did. He had great blocks before Mesa and Indy. But he was still like, I'm just here to enjoy this experience. And I was like, soak in the crowds. Like, you don't get to experience Boston. No other marathon is like it. Like, be grateful that you're there, soak in the crowd, soak in the streets of Boston, like remember those turns on Boylston, coming down Hertford, like just knowing like all of that, get your jacket, get your medal, like it's just the whole experience. And being able to have him go there and just like enjoy that and not stress a time, not stress a place, like anything like that. And really, hey, I got to enjoy this experience, and he was just so happy to like do that, which made it even more special for me. And, got all the Boston things and wants to go back and do it again, which is even better. Like, I have the same mantra with Boston. I like have ran it, but have not had my best race there. So I'm going to go back and take on that course. And like Tim has the same mindset, and that's really cool. But it was fun to see like him sending pictures of the jacket and going out with family afterwards and like just doing the whole, real Boston experience.
And I guess, this is a question I have maybe for both of you as we're talking. It kind of pops up in my head, but and I could, expand on this as well, and I won't. But when you think about, the Boston Marathon, it's such a big goal for a lot of runners, obviously. And, we get it all the time, Julia, as, personal running coaches. It's a lot of times that is the goal of somebody that reaches out to us to get to Boston at some point. And then you achieve it. And I think it's one of those things where, as time goes on, you appreciate it even more being a part of that experience, because like you said, like Julia firsthand can understand, what it meant to wear that jacket the rest of the day and go out in town and have a beer and know that everybody in the bar that day obviously watched you or was running with you. As for both of you, as time has gone on, have you been able to kind of almost reflect a little bit and even feel even more special about your Boston experience?
I would say I wish I like soaked it in more when I was there, but at the time I was running so competitively that's really all I was focused on. And I mean, while I was doing it, I got a special experience of like getting to start at the start line with the pros, and I'm warming up next to Des Linden and all the like super fast Kenyan women and like Emma Bates and all the big names, and I just was like more focused on like running a marathon and hitting times than like just being like, this is a really cool experience that I probably won't get again for a long time, or the exact same. But now looking back, I'm like, yeah, that was so cool. And I had my first one was when it was the coldest Boston they've ever had, so we had a lot of miserable miles in there, sleet, rain, very, very cold, and a lot of hypothermia. But still looking back, I talk about that race all the time. I had family members there. We like went out afterwards, and like people were like, oh my God, you've raced in this today. And it was just a really cool experience. And now, yeah, like the way you worded that was perfect. Looking back, I'm like, that was such a cool experience. It's more special when you the further you get away from it, I think.
How does that feel for you, Tim?
Yeah, for me, I've only run it once, and honestly, like being hurt sucked, but I'm kind of glad it happened because, yeah, just training like 2.5 years to finally get in, I was able to enjoy like the whole race. So I took it all in, was getting plenty of high fives, like remember running by significant like milestones throughout it. And then just it almost being a year ago, just looking back, just understanding like, yeah, how special it is and how not everyone has the chance to like ever do it. So just showing like how special of a group we are, but also just, yeah, being able to wear the jacket and people like recognize it, even around like the St. Louis area or anywhere you go pretty much, or if you just say the word Boston, people like know what it means. But just, yeah, going out after, getting beers, cheering with everyone that you see around there. Yeah, it's just a cool experience to reflect on. And I'm excited to get back to run it again.
Moving beyond the PRs in the Boston Marathon, obviously something that you were searching for, Tim, was community.
Yes.
And I think that's a big piece that we strive for at Spewak Training. And then obviously with our nonprofit partner here in St. Louis, Spewak Racing, our main goal is to bring runners together, and obviously to give you that individualized needs that you were looking for in terms of that supporter, that encourager who's going to really care about every single one of your runs and the races that you participate in, but then also care about you as a human, more than you as an athlete. And then beyond that, obviously giving you that opportunity to run with people here in St. Louis. And I think we joke about it, top 3 run, every time we run together, and it's, it's like top 3 run could be the middle of January, when it's really not a motivating time of the year. Can you expand a little bit on like looking back, okay, this is what you wanted. Obviously this was something that you sought out, you found us on Google, but now kind of sharing, what it's looked like afterwards.
No, yeah. Ever since joining a few years ago, it's crazy the friendships you make from like the team we are. It's also so cool, just like the variety of age groups we have on the team. You're running with people of all ages, but more importantly, just, the friendships I've made. You don't really find many people that want to get up at between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. They're training for similar things, and how we're all just supportive of each other's goals, checking in to see how everyone's doing, and then just care about one another. And then just regarding the friendships, I would never thought like the kinds of friends I would make from the team when joining, and it's just cool to like see how everything blossomed from like a 2-year period. I know we have the daddy gang and everything of me, you, Colin, and Brian, but just in terms of the other friendships I made on the team too, and just learning about each other's like personal lives, and going to like, I wouldn't have expected like Julia being at my wedding along with like a few other people on the team. It's just, crazy how just in the periods and stages of your lives, how like people can impact it.
Yeah, it's amazing to see it kind of all go full circle there, with everything, starting from just a guy looking for a running coach, in the previous times, to finding, lifelong friends. And what a more beautiful way to describe that than actually having your coach at your wedding just a few years later, which is cool to think. And congratulations to Tim and Meg. They just finished up their honeymoon in Hawaii and have made it back to the Arctic here in St. Louis. But thank you both for coming on just to share, your experiences working together and a little bit more, about the success that you guys have had so far. And we're looking forward to the future with Tim and Julia. I know right now Tim's on a little bit of a break to recover mentally and physically, but we'll be ready for you when you get back.
Tim's coming back with a vengeance.
Same with
We're
you.
Ready.
Same with you.
It's the comeback year, Chicago, and then just
you're running Chicago in October.
Tim, before we wrap up, should we put a call out to the Daddy Gang podcast to see if Alice Cooper be willing to bring us on to their podcast? Do you think that she'd be open to that?
Maybe if we give her your story and how her podcast impacted you, I think she'd consider having you on.
I hate to publicly blast Colin, but I listen to the Alex Cooper, Daddy Gang podcast on the elliptical, and he's not a huge fan of her podcast, and I just find it to be so entertaining. And so we've kind of coined a group and have added Colin to the Daddy Gang podcast group as well. So an inside joke that probably only too funny for the 4 of us, but maybe this is my official video. We'll send it off. But thank you to you both. I appreciate you both so much. Yeah, exactly. So you guys are great, and we'll have to get you guys back on maybe in a year or so to share the next phase of this story.
Oh yeah, and we'll keep this going. It's kind of fun being on the other side. When I did this with Jason, I was the athlete, he was the coach, and he was just at my wedding. And now this is cool. I'm a part of Tim's whole story, and there's a lot more coming, I promise.
It's full circle. So if people want to find you, and learn a little bit more about, your running and what you're interested in, beyond the course and the PRs, how can we find you guys, Tim?
Just on Instagram at Tim023. Pretty simple. And then you want to find me on LinkedIn? No.
That's great. And Julia, is her bio and profile are obviously on the Spewak Training website. You can learn more about her there. Julia, also, you're a little bit back onto social media, right? Do you want to lead maybe people to some platforms they might be able to find you on?
Yeah, Instagram, Julia K. Griffey. I used to post my whole running journey, but I took a little social media hiatus, so it's been empty on there, but I'm getting back. So maybe I'll have some fun podcast posts to share. So Julia K. Griffey on Instagram, and then Mark's website. I have LinkedIn too, which is all business, but check us out there.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you to you both, and we're looking forward to releasing the second episode ever of the Spewak Training Podcast with Tim O and Julia Griffey. Wow, that was a fantastic episode. I think I sold it beforehand, and I had a lot of positive things to say about both of them going into this episode. And I really do believe that the words that they spoke and the energy they brought on camera, lived up to the hype, and very exciting to be able to interview both of them. That's what I think is really fun about this new format to this podcast, is being able to have the coach and athlete together sharing the journey from their perspectives, because you obviously have the athlete who's really pumped up about their running success and what they've achieved, but the other side of it is from, especially with us with Spewak Training, is a coach that feels the exact same way. And I think people probably understand to some level that as coaches we care about our athletes, but I don't know if they always understand just how much it means to us when we can see an athlete achieve their goals, and just the amount of excitement and joy it brings us when you can see an athlete be happy and healthy in the process. And that's really what we're focused on. I say it probably ad nauseum, but our goal here is to really create training and customize coaching for somebody in a way that is going to not only allow them to reach their goals, but also in a way to inspire the sport for them, so that when it is January and it is freezing like it is right now, you're excited and you have a smile on your face to go do the work, because you have a coach that's in your corner and training that's designed for you at that given time to kind of be manageable and to meet your expectations. And that's exactly what Julia does such an amazing job with her clients. Obviously, our entire coaching staff, it just goes above and beyond to be able to do that. But this podcast episode was really fun also, just because selfishly, Julia and Tim are good friends of mine, and to be able to kind of sit down in a setting where we can be a little bit more serious and kind of speak a little bit more with the vulnerability aspect of things, and really get their true opinion on how they're feeling about the process is great. And I think it's therapeutic for all of us sometimes just to hear those positive things when it comes to just understanding that what we're doing and what we're working towards is happening and it's working, and we will continue to go in that direction. Tim is obviously right now on a little bit of a break from his running. I think it's extremely healthy in this sport to take a step back every once in a while, and that's something I really value with Coach Julia. She's always looking out for her athletes, and she's not. At the end of the day, we're not salespeople. We're not just going to leave somebody to coach with us because we want them to coach with us and we want the money. No, we want an athlete to be happy about working with us and happy about their own training and feel good about things. And so Julia recognized that this is a great time for Tim to kind of take that step back and recover. And that's what he's doing right now. He was just on his honeymoon, as he spoke about, in Hawaii. And he's just enjoying taking that mental, reset before he comes back to running with us. So kudos to Julia and Tim for identifying that and really helping us live up to what we believe is so important in this whole game, which is, running has to be an added bonus to your life, not an added stress. And if it's becoming a job or a stress, it's just not worth it, because, this is our hobby, not our job. And that's what we're obviously striving for, is to continue to enjoy what we're doing. So very excited again about releasing this new podcast, and you can find more of these great stories in the coming weeks. We're going to be interviewing a lot of our athletes, coaches, and then we're also going to dive into some other stories, I would say, in the community that are relevant to Spewak training and running in St. Louis in particular. So I think you're going to really find a lot of inspiration and joy in the conversations that we bring to you. And if you have ideas or you want to see something, that comes on camera or audio on the Spewak Training Podcast, please never hesitate to reach out. And if you're at home and you're just thinking, man, these stories are really impactful and I'm looking for a change in my running, and I would love to kind of learn a little bit more about what coaching is like at Spewak Training and, how I can improve like these guests have, please don't hesitate to reach out. contact@spewaktraining.com. We will set up a free consultation call with you, take that extra time to chat with you about your running goals, your needs, and everything that you're looking to improve upon. And there's never any pressure behind that call. You can sign up for coaching, or you can just, hear what we have in terms of services and move on and maybe consider us for the future. We just love meeting new people, learning more about your story, and offering some, like I said, some inspiration, some hope that you can continue to run positive, happy, healthy, the way that our clients do. And these examples through our podcast, hopefully we'll share that and inspire each of you. So thanks so much for tuning in. Find us on YouTube, find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. These are great platforms, and if you're willing, we would be so appreciative if you to review us, give us a good rating or bad rating, whatever you feel, and if you could share it in your networks, that'd be great. We're just trying to pump up this podcast, and really more than anything, beyond the aspect of trying to get more people in our community, we also just want to expose these stories. That's really important to us because we're biased, but we believe that we work with some of the best people around who are really successful humans outside of the sport, and I think there's a lot that they can provide for you. So thanks so much, everybody, and we're going to be really pumped to release this one and then head into our third episode here soon. Take care.